Hi everyone, my name is Timilehin Durotoye, and I'm one of the facilitators. I've met some of you on my mentors, but I'm happy to meet everyone else. So, my session today it's about AI and communication research. More or less, like think of this like an introductory kind of class. So I'll go ahead to share my screen, and I hope to have a good time discussing this component with you guys. I have some exercise, some videos, some things in my session. So like I introduced, I'm talking about AI and communication research, but let me give a brief introduction of myself in case you're wondering why is this person talking to us about this? I'm currently a doctoral candidate at Pennsylvania State University in my fourth year. Yeah, dissertation year, all streamed up with this. And my research interest basically aligns with media effect, also AI effects, because these days we are trying not to put everything together. I have to do with political communication research. So when I talk about AI effects, human-computer interaction, human-AI interaction, and recently I'm delving into the concept of AI governance, particularly in my dissertation, where I'm looking at how we could expand the terms of AI transparency. We could also look at how AI literacy um, could be measures in which we could get people more aware about AI, prevent them from being susceptible to misinformation and stuff like that. Um, I use both quantitative, a bit of computational social science methods and analysis tools here, and sometimes I do qualitative research too. So if there's anything else you want to know about me, please let me know. But yeah, I'll just go into the talk. So I'm talking about AI in communication research, right? So if you are in humanities, I don't know if we could use show of hands or reactions using this Khadija, please let me know. If you're in the humanities, if you're in mass communication, information sciences, no matter where you are in the world, right? Whether it's in health sector, communication is it's an essential too. Meaning, even if you are a health professional, you're still talking, you're still having interpersonal relationships with your patients or whoever you're talking to or with the client. The same thing applies to different fields, right? So communication is essential. In as much as it's a discipline, it's also it's also an important and vital part in every field, right? I'm talking to you right now. I'm communicating what you've been doing so far in the fellowship, whether it's with your mentors, with your colleagues, or from or other fellows, you're also communicating. So, but what we are looking at right now is that when it comes to communication and with the integration and adoption of AI, how has the system changed? So, what I want to introduce you to, or probably some of you already know already, so probably this is like a refresher, it's how we conduct empirical research on AI in communication. So that helps us to understand how AI has evolved over time, because as we all know, AI is not new to the system, right? We only have different advancements in this technology. So these are the objectives for my session today and also tomorrow. Um, there are like 5 objectives right here, but I'll just put your concentration to these 3, which we'll be doing today. One is for us to operationalize AI as a concept in communication research. So here we're looking at what are those multidimensional features in AI as a concept. We are also looking at AI as a research tool. So looking at its capabilities, its methodological implications, our approaches, we also look at that. And last, we also explicate AI's dual function. So it's more or less like a combination of the concept and also serving as a research tool, right? But in this way, we are introducing it more or less like an artificial entity, which it is, and a human-like imitation or simulation. So those are the 3 objectives for this session. Hopefully we could, get into everything. Before I start, or before we go into this, I know you guys have been having different sessions on AI and all. Is anyone in the field of communication or mass communication, media, journalism? Do I have anyone here?
I'm wondering if I'm qualified to say this because I did not
Okay.
study mass communication in school, but I'm currently doing a bit of journalism and writing. So I work in media, but I did not do that in school.
No, that's fine. That's also interesting. I mean, you're a professional in it, right? In a professional space. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Does any one of you work with certain AI tools, even in your profession? For example, Christabel shared like you're in journalism. So what are the kind of tools you work with when it comes to news production, news distribution? What kind of tools do you work with?
Very. primary ones like ChatGPT and Perplexity.
Okay, and what do you use them for if you don't mind sharing?
With Perplexity, I use it when I'm looking for info and also want to gather sources, like just because it gives you where it's getting this information from. With ChatGPT, sometimes I use it to brainstorm or just chat, basically.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Christabel. I like that. If anyone else is interested in sharing, please feel free to unmute and speak. And it's good that we have this kind of context, right? Whether you're using it just to brainstorm or to refine whatever your news story is or to get more ideas, think about these things as we talk about this concept, right? And examples. So let's start with the first aspect of this. So we're looking at operationalization. So I'm dividing it into two categories based on the objective I showed you. So AI as a concept, AI as a research tool, AI as an artificial entity versus human-like simulation. So there are subsections under it. Let's start with AI as a concept. We are looking at what we call the level of performance, the level of autonomy, and some sort of originality, right? Kind of in the mix, which is very much related to autonomy. But we'll look at how these intersect. We also look at AI as a research tool. So generative AI, which we are all familiar with, what is the persuasive mechanism, analysis tool or data analysis tool? And lastly, the third category is AI as an artificial entity versus human-like simulation. So we're looking at concepts of that anthropomorphism, which is like how AI could be like a human, AI's social ability. So we look at AI's viability for socialization in society. And yeah, let's get into it. So AI as a concept. First, let's have a definition of AI. Now, I picked this definition from one of my co-authored articles with my advisor. And it's pretty recent. We wrote something whereby we're trying to look at how AI has been defined in other fields, both computer sciences, Polcom, a lot of other fields, and look at how we could bring that merge between just seeing it as a machine and separated from us into what can it do and how does it imitate like some of the things that humans normally would do. So we define this as the tangible real-world capability of non-human machines or artificial entities to perform, task solve, communicate, interact, um, and act logically, right? As it occurs with biological humans. So basically, we are saying that AI is pretty doing what we humans do, right? Don't we interact? Don't we text off? Don't we communicate? Or act logically? I mean, depending on the situation, if you know it's not an emotional leading kind of situation. So that's what his definition is looking at. And what he's doing is that it's taking us from that concept of just seeing AI as an abstract tool, which of course we'll be talking about in this research because it's still important, but seeing it as an agent that could do all these things that probably humans can do. The only difference right now is that AI is probably doing it faster. And AI is probably giving you much more information than you get in one round, probably sitting with a regular human being. Um, so let's get into other aspects of AI. I'm going to allow us to watch this video. And it's a video that was created during the 2020 Super Bowl of Amazon Alexa. I hope we're familiar with that. Um, and it's like, hey, let's see what the word was before Alexa. Now, please pay attention to this because at the end of this section, not the end of the whole session, this section of this session, we're going to have some discussion. And I would like you guys to interact with me. Let me know if you can hear the sound because I don't know if I shared this with my sound. Baby, coming. Alexa, did you hear any sound?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Baby, coming. Alexa, turn down the thermostat.
Okay, turning down thermostat. Ready? Huh, here we go.
What do you think people did before Alexa?
Alexa, turn the temperature down 2 degrees.
Alexa, tell me a joke.
Jokes. God, do you think I know loads? Look at me.
Next. News. News here.
Alex, what's today's news?
It's all fake.
Al, play that song I like. Al and song.
Alexei, tell us something interesting. Okay. The Earth is flat, and a witch stole his pants. No.
Aleximus, send this message to Prince Constantine.
Alicia, remind me to delete those tapes.
Yes, Mr. President. I delete.
Yeah, I don't know what people did before Alexa.
Alexa, play my favorite song.
Okay, now we are done watching that. Before I go, yes, sorry. So quickly, let's discuss what we noticed in this video. I know they mentioned different kind of concepts. It sounds a bit like a comedy, but we looked at, hey, news, people's song choices, people's daily interaction, interpersonal stuff. But what exactly did you observe or think it's important to highlight in this video? Anyone wants to share? Matthew? Okay, hi, it's someone talking. Oh, Judith, yeah, please. I saw a hand raised. I don't know if
Hi, sorry, good afternoon.
Hi,
Sorry, I
good.
couldn't I can't turn on my camera right now because I'm not in the calm place. But
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, please go on.
I think one of the things I noticed is all the pre-Alexa, right? Pre-Alexa, the virtual assistant AI. Everyone that was being asked, the Alexa variant basically was in some position of servitude or providing a service. Oh, and it's OJ, please. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And I like that description. Thank you, Janet, right? Providing the service, whether it's someone who is like a news vendor or someone who is definitely, of course, we saw it a little bit of during the slave era where people were stuff. But music, right? News, weather, like different things which we all still need in this day. There's going to be another video on that, but just put that at the back of your mind while we talk about this concept. But basically, one of the things that this video highlights, which are the two subcategories under this concept, is looking at what was it before like when it comes to performance, like before these AI tools. What was it also before when it comes to the kind of autonomy that humans have? So we start with the level of performance, but now we talk about the level of performance that AI has, and then we think about some of the projections that we're trying to put, right? Personally, I don't believe humans are that dumb. I know, yes, it was the old times and everything. I mean, we're limited by what we had. Um, but the reality of still is that many of the things that are being configured into AI also stem from what humans do, right? It's just that AI is a little bit faster, no, and a little bit not smarter, but faster, probably. So what is level of performance for AI tools when we come to communication research? What it entails is that we're looking at the actions of AI, and there are three variants, right? How does AI perform tasks? How does it make decisions? And how does it make predictions? And these are very key, whether you're in journalism or whatever field you are in, or you're a librarian, or you're using all of these AI tools or AI systems or algorithmic systems, right? So it's telling you how does the AI perform tasks. Of course, a lot of coding and encoding is going into it. What are the kind of decisions it does makes, and how does it make these decisions? Still the codes written by humans or backend developers, right? Or engineers, how to call them. How does it make predictions? The correlation of all of these inputs that we put into the AI system is what it does in making its predictions. So what level of performance basically does is illustrating that AI can work or conduct tasks at different levels. First is a single individual level, which is a single level, and we highlight it on those performing tasks, right? This is just an AI that it's very monotonic, very machine-like. All it just does is give you this. You say, do this for me, it gives you this. No, you could think about the regular robots, not the newly advanced ones. Some robots I had as far back as 2015 that were just and whatever name they name it, right? It's just very monotonic. Now we're looking at the dual interaction. This is a combination of it performing tasks and making decisions, or performing tasks and making predictions. And we see a lot of algorithmic systems or AI systems being used in different news agencies, especially in the Western world, right? We see AI systems that could predict, weather changes on your phone right now. If you're probably using an iPhone or an Android, I don't know what the Android people talk to. I use an iPhone, so I use Siri, right? So you're asking, hey Siri, what's the weather prediction today? right? So it gives you that too. So it's also performing the task of decoding your inputs and also giving you the output. Now we have a triple interactive mode where it does all three. It performs tasks, it makes decisions, it makes predictions. So, and then we have another level, which is where it could take different aspects of it and just give you like a series of events. So it's not necessarily doing it consecutively, but almost simultaneously. It feels like it's all at the same time. And we can see that with ChatGPT, DAL-E's, which is an image generative AI software. That's about level of performance, but we'll have more examples with this as we go on. I just want to know if there are any questions at this point before I go on. All right, I'll move on. So from our research, what we did is to break down AI's level of performance. Now, these are just some examples. Basically, this was written in 2023, but published in 2024. So some of these examples are not as updated as what you have even right now. For example, you're only seeing ChatGPT 4, there's no GPT-4 0, there's no GPT-4 Turbo and stuff like that. But this is like a Venn diagram giving us a description of how this AI system works, right? The yellow aspect on the top is just telling us how it makes decisions and giving examples of AI systems that just do these decisions, just make the decisions. You have your regular project management or product management software, the Asana, the ClickUp, Mondays, and the list goes on. And you have dual interactions, just like I described. Either it's making decisions or predictions, or it's making decisions or performing tasks, and the different examples that go with it. I'll focus on the one which is on my right-hand side. Talking about some of the AI algorithmic system that news or journalists really use in these days. You're talking about NewsWhip, Google Assistant, Signal Labs, automated insights, which are used not just for news generation. Sometimes they also help with data collection or data aggregation by observing what are the trends in the environment, right? How do journalists make use of these trends? Sorry. Okay. Yeah. An automated insight. And we have the triple interaction, the one in blue, just in the middle. It's talking about making decisions, performing tasks, and making predictions, right? So we have examples like our regular AI companions or conversational AI, Amazon Echo, Amazon's Alexa, Waze, right? Which is like another form of Google Map. People use it a lot here in the US to avoid the police. You have Spotify, your Apple Music, Pandora, Netflix, Bixby, like the list goes on and on. So it's telling you about the different dimensions of these AI workings. I'll move to the next slide. Now we have level of autonomy. As the name implies, autonomy is telling us basically more reference to the human aspect. That is, what kind of agency does the human or humans, how kind of agency do we have when it comes to using these softwares? And why is it very important, right? This conversation about autonomy is also what is it's also what is fueling, certain ethical considerations we'll talk about on Thursday. But yeah, autonomy is giving us an aspect of how do we know what kind of agency these AI or autonomous systems have, and what is human input, right, with these systems. When you talk about issues or ethical considerations about biases, this is also stemming from how this system is developed. Why is it that, for example, I read on the news or just where a regular user on ChatGPT said, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me an image of yourself," basically an image of ChatGPT, and it was a regular white dude, brown hair. Seemed the same, tried it 3 times, the same kind of images, right? So this is also telling us some instances of how, not just about autonomy, but also what kind of inputs are put into this system, again, done by the humans, by the creators of this system. So this conceptualization of autonomy is telling us about AI-enabled interaction. That is, what kind of control do we humans have over this system? And do we even have any control over this system beyond the fact that they are created with codes and put out there for us to use? So autonomy is divided into 2 parts right here. We have partial and we have the fully autonomous systems. So examples of system that tells us more about this, kind of still stemming from that Venn diagram which I just showed you. Apple Siri, Amazon's Alexa, Microsoft's Cortana, Google Assistant. And you now want to talk about the generative tools like your ChatGPT, your Gemini AI, your Cloud AI, and so on. Now, remember the video we just watched of before Alexa? Looking at these two categories of level of performance and autonomy, we are going to watch another video, which is going to tell us now where there's Alexa, but now Alexa Plus, which is launching sometime soon. So please watch, and then we'll move to the discussion for this.
Oh wow, look at my style. I don't like shit that like this and like wow.
Oh, hey there. So we can just like talk now. I'm all ears, figuratively speaking. Ooh. You know how to manage my kids' schedules? I noticed a birthday party conflicts with picking up Grandma at the airport. Want me to book her a ride? Billie Eilish is in town soon. No way. I can share when tickets are available in your city. Yes, please.
Got any spring break ideas?
Somewhere not too far. Only if there's a beach and nice weather. Santa Barbara is great for everyone. I found a restaurant downtown I think you'd like. What is Santa Barbara known for? It has great upscale shops and oceanfront dining. Can you go whale watching? Absolutely. Want me to book a catamaran tour?
Nah. What's the next step?
Remove the net holding the cartridge. Should I get things? You might only love them for a little while. You're probably right. Make a slideshow of baby Tina. Mom.
What color am I looking for again?
2-inch washers. Your Uber is 2 minutes away. Through?
Did someone let the dog out today?
I checked the cameras. And yes, in fact, Mozart was just out.
Like this and the wow.
Okay, so we'll move to the discussion of this video, but anyone else wants to share what you noticed in this video? Bearing in mind what we just saw before and what we see now. Yeah, Matthew, please go on.
Yeah, it's like one can organize his life without leaving the room. You can predict some of the things you will do in the day and give you information, and you may be able to know when to go out and when not to go out with what you are seeing.
Yes, Boriston. I like the aspect of organizing your life, but of course, even beyond what they are showing in the advert, because they want to show you basic or routine tasks, whether you're going out, you're setting an appointment. But again, these tools can even perform beyond that, right? You have meetings, you have professional events. You want to take meeting notes, you're using Alta.ai, you're using different tools that way. Okay, yeah, I see someone in the comment, tertiary activities are made easier and faster. Yes, of course. Thank you for that. There's a hand raised. Adewumi, please speak.
All right. With the video, I think one thing I can really say about it is the autonomy, the independence that comes with like being able to make decisions, especially very faster, like which is something you've emphasized on over time, unlike the previous video we watched, where people necessarily don't have like their independence and they are basically like under slavery. And basically, the word that summarizes it is independence.
Independence. Thank you very much. That makes sense. You guys are fantastic, right? So it talks about autonomy, and I like the reference to that. And my next question before we go into our own discussion is, would you consider this new Alexa a fully autonomous system, or will you consider it partial, and why? Now, partially, it's saying that, hey, there's half human interference right there, there's half AI. Fully autonomous is that, hey, AI has all of the power, so I'm just here, to help this thing work well. Yeah. What do you guys think? Trying to see if any hand is raised. Yeah, Adewumi. Oh, is that your hand?
All right.
I'm sorry in case I'm cut. Okay, yeah, it's your hand. Yeah, please go on.
For me, I think I'd like to say partial
Okay.
because I mean it's the output it gives still depends on the input it gets, which is basically from humans. So that's why I think it's partial.
Yes, I like that. Very good. Anyone think otherwise? There is no right or wrong answer right now. So anyone thinks otherwise? Anyone thinks this is fully autonomous? I mean, this AI is so smart. Okay, I hope we're not all shy to talk. or if you're in a place where you can talk, please feel free make use of the chats. Okay, I see someone, Boops Chooks. Okay, also defending partial autonomy because it helps one how to use our input. Yes. I agree. Yes, you could say there's this. And there could also be another school of thought that, hey, this is fully autonomous, right? Yeah, I'm just giving it input, but the design and everything, it's making the decisions on the spot for me. So I think it depends on the school of thought, but I also really agree that maybe this is more partial for me. So we go to our discussion prompt based on what we've heard so far. What I want you to do is looking at, remember again the two ads we've seen, briefly reflect on these different representations of Alexa generations. How do you think these things could shape your expectations of AI systems in everyday life? So we're gonna have 5 minutes to think on that, or 3. Oh, okay, one hand. Judith, yeah, please go on.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I prefer to go by OJ, please.
UJ?
OJ.
OJ, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bear
Okay.
that in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Then I guess the representations of Alexa, like Alexa has, I would say it has gone through like ginormous changes over time. It has been here before AI caught on as some sort of catch-all phrase for all things modern innovation today, right? But I believe ultimately it should serve most of all to make digital system accessible for disabled people, particularly physically disabled people. That's where I see it really thriving, and it's really overlooked because everyone else is talking about, oh, this is what Alexa does for me as someone that is lazy, and it's like, no, like what about people with executive dysfunction because of depression, and people that are immobile, like partially or fully immobile with their limbs and everything, and people that can't see or needs to be read soon. That's why I see Alexa really helping, especially like it could come into standing gap for, because some of these people that are disabled have people that's carers that take care of them and interact with them for them to learn about things that they can't like access themselves. And I see Alexa taking on that role seamlessly, so they can even, let's say, be less dependent on actual people. Now, whether that's a good or bad
Very
thing
good.
it's probably beyond my jurisdiction to decide. But yeah, that's one thing I see. It makes like digital tech a lot more accessible for disabled people.
Thank you very much, OJ. That's brilliant, right? And I like the reference. This is very encouraging because at the end of this session, I have a take home for you guys. So I'm already imagining the kind of brilliant ideas you come up with. But yes, I agree with you, right? These systems are even also could be even much more beneficial to people who are disabled, and you've talked about this. I would love to learn more about that. Hopefully, when you guys see the take home, just what you come up with. But absolutely good. In terms of ethics, I agree with you. In terms of the usability or utilization, that these people need it much more for. So I agree with that too. But as we see today, both the able, the disabled, we are all just, I can kind of taking up in this hype. And that's why it's also good to have some sort of balance. Let's look at the capabilities, but also let's look at some sort of ethical considerations, which hopefully we'll touch on Thursday. So I'm going to move on to why do these things even matter? Why are we looking at AI as a concept, like a central model? What are the social implications of this? One is that it helps us understand how might these portrayals of AI shape our expectations, because we are also part of the users, right? About AI's capabilities. So what we think AI is capable of doing. The second part is that it helps us understand what societal attitudes towards AI influence even how AI autonomy is communicated or marketed, right? And we've seen this in the hats we watch. They're talking to us about much more things that these AI tools could do for us beyond what it was able to do before, beyond just, listening to our music selections or choices, right? It's now going deeper into other everyday activities. So subtly, just the way you watch certain movies, or before the acceptance of maybe robots used by human beings, they typically use all of this, media tools, right? Whether it's a TV, whether it's a media campaign, whether it's an ad, just to prep people's mind or prime them towards, hey, this is a new dimension of capability and we want you to come in sync with it so that when these products are being marketed, then people buy into it or adopt it, right? So this is an essential part of communication. We're not just looking at, hey, you can do all these capabilities. What are the implications of this when it comes to social, economic, political? Think of health-wise too, right? think of this use of these tools or the capabilities of these tools when it comes to the art perspective. Imagine you're creating a chatbot or an AI application that could be used to help people predict how well they are feeling, right? Is their health good? Think of your blood pressure apps, right? When you're running, it's counting your steps. All of these tools, they do prep human minds in preparation for the launch. I think there's a chat. Okay, I'll just read this from Josephine and Chooks. I would say partial because it is a human's decision to accept the suggestions of AI or not. Okay. I think the expectations now is higher, unlike other generations. I absolutely agree with this, right? The more we see much more things that this generative or AI tools could do, the more we expect much more. All right. So that's the end of the first concept on AI as a concept. Now we'll look at AI as an artificial entity versus human-like simulation. So let's talk about what it means as an artificial entity. Here refers to a tool or an application created by humans, right? The professionals, the backend developers, that is just saying that these tools do not just appear in our faces. There is an aspect whereby humans put in their own effort to creating this tool, depending on whatever commands they put it. So let's look at an artificial entity in 5 dimensions, and we'll also look at the human-like simulation in these dimensions. The first is essence, right? So we've said that in a basic reality, it's non-human, meaning it's machine, right? With artificial entity, we are seeing it as machine-like. Based on the structure, based on how it operates, or how we can utilize the data right there. We also have identity, right? So where we are seeing it, again, machine-like intelligence. It's kind of processing the decoding of the data or the kind of input we put it, the capabilities, just like we talked about in the previous one, its performance and things like that. We are looking at it from a machine-like kind of intelligence, right? Which is different from human cognition, right? Because we're not thinking all robotic. Humans feel, humans reason logically, just like the machines. Humans know when to balance or to disassociate from stuff, right? But we are talking about that in this artificial entity, it's just machine-like, it's robotic, and that's it. In the design too, there are specific functions to make sure that it works appropriately. It's able to replicate some human approaches, but not everything. But in this case, the replication of human approaches are not necessarily how human intelligence work, but about, hey, I want to conduct this mathematical task, for example, you put it into it, or you're running a statistical software, you bump into an error while coding, right? You're putting it into these entities or AI agents to help you solve it. When we talk about transparency too, it also operates using processes that are not necessarily like the human equivalent of it in terms of the metrics of transparency. So there's a lot of hidden things, right, in the back end of these systems. All you just see is the input and the finished work. And when it comes to purpose, it's often developed just to solve problems. So think of the individual single performance kind of variant we talked about. Just one, perform tasks, solve problems in ways that humans probably cannot. And so that's why I like the example of mathematical equations, or you're trying to combine a lot of trends. You're seeing a lot of trends online and you're trying to put them in aggregate form. Of course, these tools will be more useful, right? Because they are faster in putting these things together. So there are a lot of computational advantages when it comes to the artificial entity dimension of it. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to add as we go on. Now let's look at the opposite of it. But before that, this is an example of an human AI interaction. So there is the don't and there is the do. Could you tell me what you notice as the difference between this interaction? So I'll give you like 1 minute or 2 minutes to stare at your screen and let me know what you notice in the difference. So this is a conversation between a human and an AI system, just someone getting user of flight information. All right. If anyone is done looking at it, what kind of difference do you notice between the don't and the do framework of it?
For me, the difference that I know, hello, for me, the difference that I notice is that for the do, it is more conversational and explanatory. So it's not just how do I put it? So for the do, it asks like it elaborates on your question and kind of repeats your questions or paraphrase your question and then ask you questions there. So it's more like an authentic conversation with a person as opposed to the don't that is just very robotic and succinct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Right. So yes, I absolutely agree with you, Anthony. One is more conversational, one is more robotic, one it's like the AI is even both the humans and the AI are getting frustrated, right? In between it because like, hey, I have to tell you every input, just give me small bit of information, you don't give me everything. From the chat, I also see Osai says one is more elaborate, yes. Chooks, I noticed that the do framework is more detailed and more human, right? So I'll take that as more conversational. Absolutely correct responses. So let's go further in our work. Now that's like a template for us to all understand the concept of the human-like simulation. So think about the do framework right here. So the difference between the artificial entity versus when AI acts like a human-like simulation is that it's able to imitate or replicate human characteristics. Now I'm talking about emotions, I'm talking about humor, right? So all of your humor, your fear, this AI tools or systems are being built to act that way. And we'll see that shortly in a chatbot design, which for a research which is yet to be published that I also worked on with some of my colleagues. So the same kind of tenets we looked at for the artificial entity, but what's the difference when it comes to essence? Yeah, it's that it's mirroring human behavior in its essence. So in terms of cognition, in terms of appearance, you see they're making so much effort to make different kind of robots depending on its uses, right? Or artificial systems that you even like, right? All of the Teslas, all of the opening, they are making so much effort to make them look this way. And part of the reasons is that as generative AI begins to spring up in different dimensions, one thing people are talking about is how do I trust these systems when they don't know how to replicate regular human characteristics? So that's one of the reasons why people are advocating more for human-like simulation. It has its pros, it has its cons, but hey, everyone is excited about the pros, I guess. When it comes to identity, again, it's made to resemble human processes and outputs. So just like the example we saw of the do, it's talking to you, having conversation with you like your friend would, right? Like your neighbor would, your acquaintance would. Also in its design, all of the codes and input are made to recreate human-like responses and interactions. And in terms of transparency, they tend to be a bit more transparent or convincing. And a good example of this is the Turing test. I don't know if any of us remember this. It is a very popular test that gives us an idea of how AI simulations could work. And also the purpose of this kind of simulations is that you want people to interact with these machines just like they interact with humans. You want these machines to have intuitions just like humans, to mimic human behavior or imitate human behavior, to be able to act like companions, true companions to humans. And we're beginning to see examples of the cons, which I didn't mention before, of where people are beginning to isolate in their shell, right? Whether it's a gaming system that just pictures the characters just like human. Probably the men or women who are interested in football relate to this more, or soccer. You see all of your players, they just look human-like, the way they are talking. Of course, a little bit of them move so robotic, which is annoying, but they are making much more effort to make, whether it's a gaming system, whether it's just an AI software you're interacting with, people are beginning to isolate into their shell as this cons, because the much more you interact with these systems, you're questioning, why do I need to interact so much with humans? So therefore, based on these two comparisons, AI entity can be an AI system used for computational purposes, right? It mirrors a little bit of human mental framework from the computational kind of dimension. We are talking about human simulation. It's encompassing both. It can do all of the human-like mental simulation or computational aspect. It can also act as a conversational AI agent. So the next slide I'm going to show you is just a recording of a chatbot, which we used for an experiment in an unpublished research. It has no sound, but you have to watch the video and see how people interact with the chatbot.
Hello to me. I hope you're not talking. We can't
No,
hear.
I'm not talking. I wanted them to just look at the conversation on the screen. It's like a video without a sound. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to pause this video right here, but if you're paying attention to what's going on the screen, what kind of conversation do you think this is? Do you think it's a bit conversational or just a little bit machine-like, robotic? What do you guys observe? Oh, yeah,
think
Adewumi.
okay.
Then we'll go to Anthony after. Yeah, please speak.
All right. For me, I think I would say it's conversational because I remember at a point immediately, the person mentioned how that they would love to that they are bored. The conversation started from let's see what we can do. So that's more conversational than robotic. It's more engaging. Like okay, both parties are really engaged in the conversation, not just one-sided.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that, right? A part that really struck for me is where he said, boredom happens to the best of us. And I'm like, hey, you're an AI too. Where did you come in? All right. I saw Anthony's hand raised before. If you want to speak, please go.
Yes, so I think it's a bit conversational, but I also think, I don't know, this is just a philosophical thought. I also think that it is one-sided in the on the part of the user. And it's something that I see a lot where it's like we expect AI to be witches and know everything in our mind. So I feel like if this were a conversation between two people, the user would not be as monotonous as they are in the chat. So in terms of situations where, oh, I want to watch a movie and watch on, like I want to watch it would, I feel like the user would kind of expatiate a bit more because you're talking to the person. Like that's actually the point of the conversation. So it's what you say that kind of, leads to more conversation. But here the AI is doing overtime or is working overtime just to keep it conversational, but there is still for me the hint that it's one-sided. So yeah,
I agree. I agree with that, and I'll come to that later. Very good. Thank you for sharing, Anthony. Yeah, Josephine, please speak. Josephine, if that's not the name you go with, I see your hand raised. Please speak.
Yeah, it's Josephine. Okay, so I also go with conversational. In fact, if not for the fact that the AI said, okay, I'm just an AI and every day is good here. But then AI goes on to say boredom happens to the best of us. I don't get it. You're an AI. What do you know about boredom? You should just say, okay, boredom is something that happens to human. I'm not human, so I can't relate. Right. But apart from that, I think that the conversation was quite what was the word to use? It sounded like something that will happen between two friends who maybe, or let's say acquaintances who
It's
are not
mutual.
very.
It's mutual.
Exactly, it was mutual. Thank you very much. That's the word I was looking for. So they don't seem like very good friends, like very close friends rather. But then they have something in common, and then the other person is trying to make the friend who is bored, just like lift their mood and like take them out of the boredom. So yeah, I would say conversational. But please, AI should stop saying that boredom happens to them too. So I don't think that happens.
Don't be offended, just all right. But thank you for sharing. I really enjoyed that. And also, Matthew, thank you for chipping in. Yes, it's conversational at Science Neutral. I see Chika's hands raised. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Chika, please feel free to speak. And afterwards, we'll have Solomon. Yeah. Chika, in case you're speaking, I can't hear you. I don't know if anyone else can. Okay, while we wait for Chika, Solomon, please feel free to unmute and speak.
Oh, you can hear me, please.
Yes, I can.
Okay. My contribution is not on the shared video. Sorry, I'm about to drag you back a little bit.
Okay, yeah, no problem, please. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not that comfortable with the item, one of the items under AI as artificial entity, transparency. I was thinking about, transparency. That should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Item number 4.
Yeah.
Because if you look at AI as artificial entity, and then looking at the numbers, mathematics, the idea of transparency could pass. But if you are looking at the non-numerical categories, you find out that issues about biases and other issues might arise. So in a way, I don't think AI is, should I say, 100% transparent? I can put it that way. So I'm just interrogating that item.
Yeah, I like that, and thank you for sharing that. Yes. Also, it's a good thing because maybe I didn't clarify enough. So the transparency framework here for the artificial entity was just talking from a computational perspective, right? Matrix conclusions. But I also do share your sentiment that AI is not also fully transparent, even with these metrics, right? Sometimes where it's getting its data from, the accuracy or veracity of the claim. I've had issues while designing a mock online news website, which is AI driven. And I had issues with some of my Python codes. By the time I inputted it into ChatGPT, hey, help me out here. I kept even having much more errors till I decided to take some time and reflect and see all of the things that I might have done wrong. So I also agree that it's not fully transparent. But what I'm just emphasizing right here is that, maybe in terms of statistical inferences, it gives you certain data, tells you do this in SPSS and blah, 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 in terms of telling you what to do, but not fully transparent about where it comes. For the human entity, that transparency is very questionable, right? So that's how I mentioned here that the transparency is just convincing you that it can pass human-like, but not necessarily diving onto all of the dimensions, which I will get to on Thursday, of what transparency should really look like than what these regular big fours or big threes in technological systems are giving us as transparency. But thank you so much for sharing that, Solomon. In the chat, I see comment by Chika. I see you are trying to do too much. Okay, so this is probably referring to this. Let me just forward it right there. Yeah, so this is probably referring to this interaction. By thinking it can provide solution to every problem. Yes, yes, yes. So that is all true, right? The mutual conversation, the way the AI systems are being built, I think it's that aspect whereby these technological systems still haven't found a balance, right? Humans are advocating for more human-like simulation so that I feel like I'm having a conversation with this thing. But in the face of imputing all of these different metrics, they are probably also doing too much with the code. So I absolutely agree. Because of time, we won't be able to watch the full length of this interaction, but I just wanted to bring you, show you one of the works that I do that is related to this. Yeah. Thank you guys for interacting. So still on AI artificial entity versus human-like simulation. We now talk about AI availability for socialization, which I termed as AI sociability, right? So the context is that looking at the evolution of AI technologies, how far we are coming from, right? From the other parts in news systems, for example, a journalism system where it was just used for automation. Even when it went on social media, it was not necessarily the algorithm writing this news. Is that, hey, with these algorithmic systems, we can use to automate this news where it's being shared, where it's being distributed, help user with personalization of their news preferences, right? Or recommendations. Look at your regular Netflix, right? You watch one movie or two movies. The next thing you are seeing also now is because you watch so, right? So it recommends things for you because it's taking the data of, hey, this user probably likes this. The same also applies with news preferences. If you're the kind of audience just like me who filters your social media platforms, sometimes because you're trying to, push out some content that you're not interested in, this could also be the system. But now it's gone beyond just all of those routine functions to we have the generative AI models and the advancement in conversational capabilities, which was what I tried picturing to you before. And what are the kind of metrics that I use in doing this? How do we think this could be a viable medium for socialization? We talk about the NLP capabilities, which is natural language processing. Yeah, we're talking about how well this AI system understands and generates human language. And we can see from the interaction with the coding, with the conversation or mutual conversation going between this AI agent and the human, chatting on the bot, you can see that it's able to understand what the human is saying, right? And it's acknowledging that, hey, you're not the only one in this situation, right? Even it's an AI. Bottom happens to the best of us. And going further to say, okay, if this human is bored, probably this human needs something which is entertaining, right? So it's not just understanding, as we see this, most of this conversational AI agent is that it's also generating things that thinking about what next, right? In human language. Context awareness. These systems are also able to track conversational history and social context, right? Imagine you use ChatGPT all of the time. You could go back to see your history of what you've interacted with sometimes. But if you decide to use a page whereby you've just been asking more questions, it has all of those data right there, right? So this AI system can already, weave together what kind of language, what kind of thing does this user like? Imagine you are the kind of person who says, oh, I've written this email, and which I did recently. Because I also serve as an instructor of record here at Penn State, and I'm teaching a course which is on digital media metrics, like statistical course, where students sometimes struggle for it. I'm also teaching a media public opinion class. And so sometimes I want to write this email, like when students are asking these questions that is just doing my body like, I don't know if it's the Nigerian vein in me, but this time around, I was so pissed that I can't reply like this. So I have to take it to ChatGPT that, hey, could you make this email sound more friendly, and empathetic, just in case I'm missing something. So that happens too. But when AI takes track of your data, now beyond just regular conversation, on your social media platforms, these are also driven by algorithmic system, right? You like a content, it takes note of that. You share a content, it takes note of that. So it's telling you, it's taking this digital footprint of you and helping you to create conversations or history or context within what it thinks you look like as a human. So you're like your persona, right, for this, all of the product management things. Also personalization, I think I mentioned this, but just quickly, it's adapting to individual users over time. And you have emotional intelligence, right? This doesn't do so well, but the ability it should be able to do is to detect and respond appropriately to human emotions. But with emotional intelligence, I would be honest that I don't think these AI systems are doing these things well. Even sometimes personalization, I feel sometimes, for example, on Netflix, I feel like the movies you're recommending to me doesn't sound like what I like, even if I watch this. So what we should bear in mind that in as much as it could perform in certain past aspects of all of these capabilities, doesn't mean it's 100%, right? So these systems have their failings. So let's also bear that in mind. So that when we come to our ethical conversations on Thursday, we'll have more conversations about this. So why do we need to understand AI as an artificial entity versus human-like simulation? again, bringing us to the communication aspect of it, we are understanding power dynamics in terms of conversation. We are understanding agency, right? At what point does human input reflect, and at what point is a system just fully autonomous? It also helps us to define our expectations of this system and also how we interact with them, right? Bearing in mind that this thing takes our data, just like your social media platform, there's a data footprint, right? So you're like, oh, if I continue to converse with this system this way, does it think of me this way? Does it generate stuff or output for me using this way? Also expectations, knowing that these systems are not 100%, nowhere even near 90, right? They do fairly okay, but they're not 100%. So making sure that we don't have this superior expectation of them, what literature or researchers term as machine heuristics, right? Where people feel that machine is superior, machine is intelligent, it makes no errors, it has no biases. I mean, their perceptions, and people will believe that anything machine-like sounds that way. Also, it helps us understand certain ethical frameworks when we come to conversations of that about where these things ethical concerns, right, when it comes to the function and interaction of these systems. So, and which are some of these things I've mentioned are some of the core areas that we also investigate when it comes to AI and communication research. So they are very key to understanding this. So quick discussion. I don't know if we have enough time for this, but it's also going to involve an exercise, right? What I want you to do is, if you use ChatGPT, if you have access to it on your phone or on your desktop, try to ask ChatGPT and interact it with it like your friend. Anything you want, and just share with me what your conversation was like. Please let me know if you didn't get what I just said now.
Could
So
we do this now and give you a response in like real time?
Yes, it's very quick exercise. So just go on your phone. You could open ChatGPT, whatever you use, if it's Cloud AI or Gemini AI, whatever system, just chat with it like you're having a conversation with your friend about something. Maybe how tired you are, or you're hungry, or like everyday kind of conversation. And let me know what you think your conversation was like. Yeah. If you're done, please just feel free to unmute and share. Matthew, I see your.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I used Gemini,
Okay.
and surprisingly, he didn't give me any. I said, "How can I be closer to God?" And he
Okay.
said, and surprisingly, he says, "I'm unable to help, as I'm only a language model and don't have the ability to process and understand that." So
Wow.
that's Gemini.
That's
All right.
that's very surprising. Again, you see all of these biases that are put into this model. Yeah, Osai, I see your hand raised. Please share.
So yes.
Yeah, what?
Okay, mine is different. I chatted. Okay. I said chat one name. How are you? And he said Odima one name. Kedu kieme. How is everything?
Oh. Please translate that for me. I'm not Igbo. Yeah. Oh, you're breaking up. Sorry, I can't hear you so well. Okay, just in case you get your connection fixed, please let me know. Feel free to talk again, Osai. I would love to hear about that conversation. Christabel, I see your hands up. Please feel free to share.
Okay, so I use ChatGPT.
Okay.
This is
to
the
research
4.0 version.
And I said, good. I said, chat my brother or my sister. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know. Yes, I can hear you. Is that Osai? Oh.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Please share. You were breaking up for a bit, so I lost your connection. Yeah. Please share.
Okay, okay. So let me start at one name. How are you? What I said was it was like I'm fine. Then my sister, how are you too? So
Oh, I love that. Okay. Aside, what I heard so far is how the AI was able to like chat like your sister and say, "My sister, how are you too?" That's really nice. What system is that?
how is everything going with your research and work? And I said, good. And the ChatGPT reply said, yes, yes. 4.0.
4.0, 4.0. Okay. That's very good. I
Yeah.
like the fact that it could also like translate to you, like communicate back in your mother tongue. So that's very good.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. I love that. That's interesting. Christopher, let us continue hearing from you.
Okay, so I used ChatGPT and my first text was I'm lonely. So it said, I'm here, want to talk about what's on your mind. I said I'm stressed and I've been pitching articles with zero positive outcomes. And then it sent me one long paragraph. And if anybody sent that to me in real life, if I'm really stressed and lonely, I probably would not read it. So anyways, I read it and one of the questions it asked was are you getting mostly rejections or just silence? I said both silence and rejection. Then it sent two paragraphs. I just I can't. So someone said they use Gemini to ask how can I be closer to God. So I tried it and it gave me like a very detailed
Oh,
something and tried to relate it with my loneliness and do I want to have like a Bible reading pattern or whatever. So that I find that
that
really cool.
that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Aside the two paragraph stuff, but you see that it actually learns from your former interaction with it. And so that's why I was
Yeah.
able to tailor the response. And probably that's the difference between why you got a response and why Matthew didn't get one. But thanks for
Oh,
sharing.
okay.
Chooks,
Yeah.
I see your hands raised. Please speak.
All right, thank you. Mine is GPT.
Okay.
I said hello. It says hi. How is it going? I said it's going well. Oh." It's a nice one. What's up with you today? I said I am very very hungry. I beg. Did you cook? He said my pot is empty. Oh, but tell me what are you craving? Maybe I can help you decide what. I said I want eat rice. He said nice choice. White rice with stew, jollof rice or fried rice. Which one they your mind? I say fried
Oh
rice.
my
That's
God.
the correct choice. Correct choice. You go add chicken and salad join. I been adjust the rice. Oh I no get money. He said, I feel you. Just go for the basic fried rice. Rice, little oil, season and whatever small veggies you get. Even if not just onions and little carrot, it go still make sense. You feel pay am
Wow.
with pure water for full enjoyment. And I say, can you borrow me money? I beg. And I
That
said,
is very interesting.
if I feel withdraw from my brain account, I will send you something sharp, sharp. But no worry, manage this fried rice idea. It goes sweet well. And I say, how will your brain account help me now? And I say, my brain account will help you with wisdom, like how to cook one sweet, budget-friendly fried rice. Make go still make sense. Or maybe I feel run you small hustle idea to cash out small. How you see them? And say, no,
That's actually very interesting. Just like your power, right? And even giving you suggestion, getting into all the vibe of the jollof rice and stew. You're making me hungry right now. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, I see a chat in the
I
in the
think
chat
that
box.
AI
We
is in
have
Nigeria.
sorry, was someone speaking?
I said I think that AI is a Nigerian.
I agree with that, right? Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Solomon. So I see from Anthony, it says ChatGPT is my G normally. It converses with me in the best way, and sometimes I use it to roast myself when I'm bored. Yeah, very interesting. People do that. You see a lot of stuff about that on Twitter too. So thank you for sharing that. All right, because of time, I just need to go on with this so that I don't keep you beyond 1:30. Yeah. I'm sorry, Matthew will come back to you just a minute. Just make sure that I don't skip this. Thank you guys for sharing so far. I hope you had some fun conversing with those dudes this ways. All right. So the third concept, which is AI as a research tool, right? So now we are talking about analysis techniques, which probably some of you are much more interested in. So in my mentoring session, I had this kind of session with my mentors. So they're probably and they're saying, hey, a reminder of this. So we talk about analysis techniques, right? So how could these AI tools help us with our analysis or research analysis? I just put some examples right here. Social network analysis, what it does is comparing relationship between individual and groups. So a little bit more than you do your regular statistics software of like SPSS and the regular statistics you do with R. I have a co-authored paper where I did social network analysis of editors, right? Looking at the demographic, the institutions, the affiliations, and it was very beautiful the way the chart comes, right? You see all of the connections between what dominant institutions versus the the less dominant ones. So with AI systems or AI as a research tool, you could conduct this level of analysis. There's also natural language processing, which helps you again analyze text to extract the meanings. If you're also conducting things like sentiment analysis in your research or extended abstract which you're working on, thematic analysis helps you with this. Even for qualitative researchers, right? You have softwares like In Vivo, where you use to aggregate your data of, hey, I've interviewed people, I want to draw out what are the common themes or elements in this. So those are also natural language processing softwares. Or you're extracting data from social media using Twippy and the likes. There's also what you call agent-based modeling. Hopefully, in the next session, I will definitely do that. I'll just give you an interaction. It's super fun. What this software does is simulating interactions between autonomous agents. So if you're the kind of person who likes conducting experiments, it could help you simulate what a potential real experiment would look like using agent-based modeling. So it tells you how, if you put group A in for example, if you show a group of students news that is laden with a lot of emotions versus you show another group of students with news which is just purely abstract, they interact in different ways. So with agent-based modeling, you could create that simulation even before conducting the experiment. Sometimes people go ahead and publish the results with the artificial agents they work with. There's also machine learning, very much simulated with natural language processing, helping you also discover patterns, making predictions from social data, or from other data. I think there's a poll or quiz up. Khadija, do I need to tell them to do anything here?
I wanted to raise my hand actually to tell them that please kindly engage the poll while the class is ongoing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we have topic modeling. Also, if you're someone who does a lot of social media extraction data, whether using YouTube API, Twitter API, this is a very interesting analysis technique for you. It helps you model these topics much more. It's kind of similar to network analysis, but not just drawing patterns, right? It's giving you like, if you're familiar with random tree forest and all of these kind of softwares, or coding systems that work. What it does is help you to identify themes using these topics in large or aggregated data set or big data sets, right? In this class, I might not be able to go through everything, but I would like to show you some simulations of some of these analysis techniques in my next class. Then we talk about the ethics of it. The last slide about research as a tool is data collection methods. So you could do web scraping or social media data scraping using AI tools, extracting data from the website. You could do data trace data, analysis of data or people's digital footprints. There's also API access. For example, you're creating a system or a model. I give you an example of the Mark online news website I created. You have to generate your API keys and all of these applications for all of the core information technology scientists right here. For you to be able to retrieve those data from different platforms, right? Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, and the likes. You could also use this research to conduct digital surveys. For example, the poll that just popped up right now, there is an algorithm that has been written to be able to create this kind of feature, right? But away from that, if you also conduct an experiment on sharing online questionnaires and polls, it could be used for these things. So far in the class, we've seen the dimension of AI acting as a concept, looking at AI as artificial agent versus human-like simulation. And now looking at more of the abstract or computational aspect of it, of AI just working as a tool. So you see that there are different functionalities of this tool, and there are also different considerations and implications as we use them. Towards the next class, it's like a take-home exercise. I like what OJ shared earlier about, this tool probably should be more tailored towards the disabled. So I'm not just talking about make all your research ideas towards that, but just give you an idea of something that could be fitting for this. come up with a rough idea. It could be something you're working on right now with your extended abstract. Feel free to come up and share an excerpt of that. Come up with a rough idea of a methodological approach, whether using some of the analytic techniques I mentioned, you are conducting sentiment analysis, or you're just, extracting data for a particular concept, or an interdisciplinary research which you're conducting, where you are examining human-AI interaction in evolving environments, a communication environment or other environment, right? The idea is there has to be an examination of human-AI interaction to make sure that we are fulfilling the communication component of this session and how it works in those simulated environments or real-life environments, as the case may be. So that's the first thing we'll get to discuss during our class on our session on Thursday, and then we go to the other aspect. Christabel, I see your hand up.
Okay, please, if you don't mind, I would like you to explain the home exercise again. I did not get that.
Okay, based on what we've discussed so far, I want you to come up with a rough idea. A research idea, it could be what you're working on with your standard abstract right now. So if it fits, you don't need to come up with anything new. Or if you decide to come up with something new, that's fine. But the idea should tailor a methodological approach using, I don't know if I'll share the slides with Khadija. Probably she could, oh God, I went out of it. Yeah, probably she could share it with you. So what you have to do is come up with a research idea using a methodological approach, AI as a research tool, or just looking at the variables of AI as an artificial entity, even like simulation or concepts to form up your ideas. And what your ideas should do is to examine how do human and AI, how can they interact, right, in evolving communication environments. So it could be whether in journalism, if you feel like there is a framework whereby, news audiences could comment, could communicate, if it's debunking misinformation and you feel like there's a human AI interaction element that could be placed there, if it's access to or the kind of access or utilization that the disabled need for it, if it's also looking at governmental efficiency, right, in terms of data collection and stuff, if you think there's a human AI interaction that fits with it. I don't know if I'm explaining this thing well, but yeah, let me know if it's too confusing. Oh God, that time is up. I hate keeping people behind time. I'm so sorry. Do we all understand that? Let me know if anything is confusing.
I'm not sure I got the question clearly. Not sure for that.
Okay, you have to come up with a research idea on anything that examines human AI interaction in evolving communication environments. So it could be you're looking at online journalism, but looking at human AI interaction. What are the elements, right, that is featuring there when it comes to humans interacting with whatever content you have in an AI-driven system? It could also be looking at government efficiency. For example, if you are collecting data, if you are trying to do census using the online or digital platforms, are there some element of human AI interaction that could help with that level of government efficiency? I'm just giving random examples right there. It could also be if you're looking at the group of marginalized communities or disabled people, right? Is there some element of human AI interaction that could help them in their daily life or daily routine tasks, right? So that's the kind of things you're coming up. And you could design this just looking at a research idea, or you could design it as a methodological approach. For example, this is the analysis technique I would like to carry out if I were to do so idea. So it could be based more from an analysis technique or just from a conceptual aspect. Solomon, is that clearer?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right, everyone. Sorry again for keeping you 3 minutes behind. I will see you on Thursday. If you have any questions before then, I think Khadija has my email. I also send the slides to her. So feel free to check it or consult it or send me an email before that. Thank you all for interacting, and I hope this session was useful.